let us continue. All right, moving right over with the right button. We're going to go to the stats, and this is basically a summary of your armament. Everything you see here is graphically shown on the ship as well. Just the names and things that you see are given a value here. Survivability, this is the hit points, this is your HP pool, 51,700 until you're dead. Armor, so there's 9 through 300 millimeter armor going through the whole ship in different spots. So some spots it gets down to 9, some spots it gets all the way up to 300 millimeter. Torpedo damage reduction, 23. So that means if torpedoes coming your way with 100% damage, it's going to take 23% off of that. Now I don't know if 77 is still significant damage, but just be glad that you're not taking 100, I guess. And that's only if they hit you in your torpedo belt. We'll take a look at that belt a little bit later. Artillery, main battery. These are the names of your guns and what they can do. By looking at this, we have 356 millimeter, 52 model, 1913. You got 4 turrets times 3 means they have 3 guns apiece. 356 millimeter. The firing range, 16.1 without the booster, remember. Reload time is going to take 34 seconds, 34.6 seconds. Turning time, 35.6 seconds. Now that is reduced from when I had the module on there before. Before, the reload time was like 33 seconds and the turn time was like 38. It's going to take just as much time to reload as it takes for them to turn from port side to starboard and vice versa. HE shell, we already been through that. The fire setting chance is 38%. Maximum HE, we've seen that. Secondary armament, we got mini cine guns on there. We have 6 of them. We have 6 guns, 6 turrets with 2 barrels on them, with 2 guns. So that means, and they shoot 100 millimeter. So if we go back, we can actually find these 6 guns. There's 1, there's 2, probably 2 on the other side, and there's 1 up front and 1 in the back. 1 right there, and 1 right here. These are secondary guns. All right, then we have secondary armament 130 millimeter guns. We got 10 of them, and they all have 1 barrel on them. So these are slightly bigger guns, but the turrets only have 1 barrel on them. All right, let's see if we can find them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, and 9 and 10. There we go. All right, and as you could look at the barrel on them and see that they are slightly more powerful. And this is 130 millimeters. Wow, pretty good, pretty good. And they have their own set of ranges, which is 4 kilometers at this moment, and damage. HE is doing 1900 on the 130s and 1400 on the 10 millimeter. So it has a very, I'm not gonna say great, but moderate secondary suite going on here. You could boost that. I don't know. My battleship strategy doesn't include secondary armaments. It should, and it could, it probably should, to tell you the truth. But I'm more of a, secondaries are secondary. I'm just gonna say that, to me, all right? Aaa Defense, and we can go around the ship and count these guns, but I'm not going to because there's a fuck ton of them, right? And these guns, the 10, 12.7 millimeters, they activate at 1.2 kilometers, which is kind of useless. And because at 1.2 kilometers, they are basically already dropping torpedoes on you. The planes are already dropping torpedoes. But we do have two other suites, the 45 millimeter 21Ks, and their range is 2.5, which is really, it's kind of short too. We have 6 mini cine guns that are 4 kilometers, and that's a little bit better. So that's not a bad AA suite. 32 is all right. But if you want to, you can boost this with other perks and stuff from your captain or modules. All right. Maneuverabilities are 30. It's a battleship. We're going 25.6 knots at this time. The turn circle radius is damn near a kilometer. So you really want to be strategic in where you're going. I always tell people you should know where you're going before the bell even starts. I mean, some people just, I have no idea. They just go out there like, and you know, you get close to an island, you need to turn this way, but you got to show your broadside to the whole entire team. Should have thought about that before. And you can, you know, your rudder shift time can affect your circle radius, and there's boosts for that in modules and captain perks and everything inside the game. Concealment, not a big thing for battleships. Can be to some certain. I mean, you would like to stay invisible as long as possible to your enemy, and, you know, but you're driving a big office building or a small city around the ocean. It's kind of hard to hide you, you know. Detectability by sea. This means that if people are 4.1 kilometers away from you, they can see you. And this is indicated by the blue circle around your ship in the mini map. We'll go over the mini map later. Detectability after firing a main gun. This means that if people are 16.1 kilometers away from you and you fire your guns, they can see you. Detectability when the ship is on fire. Yes. 16.1 if you're on fire, yes, you're more visible. All right. Detectability range by air. Of course, people can see further when they're in the air than when they're at sea level. And that range will be displayed to you on a map by an orange line around your ship. And that would be, for this particular ship, 11.5 kilometers. And of course, it gets crazy. After you shoot your gun, it gets up to 18. So you really can't duck anybody after you shoot your gun. So you have to be strategic in when you shoot your gun. Detectability when the ship is on fire is 14.5 from a plane, which is a little bit less than sea. But you have to factor that in, you know, however you want to. Guaranteed detectability range. That means no matter where they are, if there's an island between you, if somebody's if you're in smoke, and if people get 2 kilometers away from you, they're going to see you no matter what. And if you're in smoke, and you fire your guns from in smoke, people are going to see you 11 kilometers away. All right. So those destroyer guys out there who are laying smoke for their battleship friends, stop that. Get some help. Stop doing that, because it doesn't work. All right. Or it doesn't work well enough for you to use that valuable consumable. And we'll get into destroyer tactics or strategies a little bit later. But for battleships, don't do it. Just don't do it. Moving on to armor. Now, this screen is very, very, very important, significant, and it will make or break you in the game. A lot of people just say aim at the waterline and somewhere around midship, and you should hit the Citadel. Now, as we can see by the color-coded places on the ship, you can see which degree of armor thickness that part of the ship has, from being the thinnest with 12 to 14 millimeters to the thickest, which is 399. So we're looking at everything right now. Let's look at it from a couple different angles. And I'm going to tell everybody exactly, and this is how I read it. What we're looking at right now is the Citadel. In battleships, in cruisers, destroyers don't have citadels. This is the most important part of the ship right here. If you hit this damn thing, man, it's gonna cause major damage. Your opponent's gonna get a gray ribbon saying that they fucked you up real bad. Okay, and this is what you don't. The whole battleship platform should be built around protecting this area right here. As we can see, we have all the other armor turned off. As we can see, there's a lot of ship before we get to this part, and that ship is basically all the armor. And basically you have to shoot through all of this stuff to get to this, to the middle of the ship. Down here, this is where the magazines, the ammo, the fuel, all the stuff you don't want people to hit with live fire in your ship. Yeah, you can get tapped in here and with full health and detonate and be dead on your way back to port automatically. So what you want to do in game is you want to, by also knowing where your armor is also how you maneuver. Of course, getting to this place from right here, if you have your nose pointed at the enemy, is going to be a little bit harder. Not only is it a smaller target, but you have a lot more armor and ship before you get to that point. You can bounce stuff off the hull. You can, it can absorb some right there. All right. But looking at this ship design right now, we can see right now there is a humongous flaw. Number one, knowing that the light blue is 12 to 14. Let me see. All right. This is the Citadel deck, is 20 millimeters of armor. Every ship in the game, almost to some destroyers, man, can get through that armor. Okay. And we see that the top of this ship, or the top of the Citadel, has a very thin armor. So when some people say just shoot ship line, we see we have a little bit more armor, about 34, what was it, 34 to 50 to 75. Oh, 40, well, just a tad bit more, you know, protecting it. Here in the back here, there's a weak spot right there. That's 25. If you can lob your shot diagonally, you can maybe cut through the ship and hit the Citadel from the top. Penetrate from up there. Of course, you can only do this with armor piercing, but who knows this? Well, everybody knows it now if they're watching the video, but who knows that? If we go and put everything else on here, then we start to get to see, and we'll take the Citadel out so we know exactly what all of this is protecting. All right, let's take the front and back end off. All right. Let's see if we can get it. No. Look at this. This is everything to protect the middle of the ship. Where you don't see anything in there, that's the Citadel. So shooting waterline is where this armor of the ship is basically the thickest. The reddest is the thickest. All right, it's not that thick. Let's look at the casemate. All right, it's 100 to 300, but at the waterline where you would normally aim for this ship's Citadel, which is waterline about right here, normally on all ships, is the most armored. So of course, if you have guns that can cut through 399 millimeters of armor, then you're okay with that waterline. You're all right with that. All right. You see all the turrets, 399, the front of the conning tower or the bridge, 399. These are parts that you want to protect on the ship. If you don't have any guns, you can't really shoot, can you? All right, but I see one glaring, stupid, ridiculous design flaw in this ship. Here, if we look at the top deck, it's green. 25, 26 millimeters of armor. So once we get through that, then we have a mere 20 millimeters, the ceiling of the Citadel. So boom, we get through that. Because I mean, let's look at this. Okay. Casemate armor right here, man. It's just weaker up top. Okay. So the shot that you want to make on this ship is not waterline. You want to aim for just the upper lip right there, so you can get it through the deck armor into the ceiling of the Citadel. All right, you need to know that about your ship when you're taking it out here. All right, and then you need to look at other ships. Let's look at this ship compared to a similarly armored battleship. Let's look at the Genizer now. Let's turn everything off. Look at the Citadel. Do you see any blue spots on there? Do you see it being above water? No. This thing is tucked underwater under some, at least 200 millimeters of armor. Okay, and then we'll bring up the casemate. Wow. Okay, you don't see anything fucking green on this thing, do you? It is so hard to Citadel these ships. It's possible, but it's so hard. Let's take that out of there. Look at that. You're not getting through the top of this ship. You're not even shooting through this broadside. But I will tell you where you can shoot. Aha! Look at that. In front of the front guns, they fucked up and had 17 to 24 millimeters of armor protecting the front of the Citadel. There's your way in. And this is ridiculous. This shot right here, if you make this shot, you're one of the pros in the game. Okay? But you know where it is. Not saying that you will never get a Citadel shooting at the side of this thing or whatever. You get close enough, you got big enough guns, yeah, you could punch through there. You can get it. But I myself, this guy right here, not knowing his ship, will try to angle towards you. And as long as you are hitting in front of those turrets, man, you can get them. It will probably blow him away. Look at that. Look at that. And see up at the front of the deck right here, front of the bow is even lighter. This thing is like running with a very weak nose on it. But everything else is tight. See, even if we take that away, even the back here, you can't get in there from the back. It's red. But the front, there's your way in. So I just wanted to point that out. For every ship, every single ship on the game, it's different. Back to the subject of the hour. And just to show it again. Okay, and there's your torpedo belt right there. All right. 2933 is not that good, which is why it's very low with this protection. Yeah, I've yet to get a Citadel with torpedoes on the game, so I wouldn't even worry about it. Just don't get hit by torpedoes. You'll do good with that information. So broadside might not be too bad, but still, you still can get hit all along this top area right here. in this particular ship, but each ship comes with its pluses and minuses. All right. Also, when you're broadside, you got to face these 12 guns. All right. There's a way in right there in the front too, but not so much. Because I mean, you know, hitting this shot right here is very hard. It's gonna be very hard. This is a very small, because of dispersion, because the ship is moving, because a lot of stuff. This is the bullseye. Put it like that. All right. So that's what I want you to understand about armor. Okay. Then we go to the overview right quick before we get into other things like the captains. Okay, it gives you a quick summary of the history of the ship and things that it might excel at in the game or lack in. This has superior AP pin, which means that we saw in the stats the AP damage is far more than the HE. It's going to be like that in most cases, but I haven't seen in too many cases where it's double. So, superior AP pin. Guns are plenty. There's 12 freaking guns on here. Not to mention a moderate secondary suite. Okay? So, yeah, this thing is putting out tons of fucking firepower. Okay? And then we have something which is really in the neutral, because if it was bad, it would be red. And it says on-demand repairs. Damage control party reloads faster but has limited charges. So yeah, it might reload faster than normal than people who have infinite damage control consumables, but there's only 4 of them, so you have to use them very, very wisely. And the Ismail is a battle cruiser, which at the time of her laying down claimed to be the world's most powerful warship. She was very similar to the battleship Gangut, shout out to Tactic Angel, in terms of her layout and armor type, but differed in her larger size, speed, 356mm main battery guns. Year of design 1912. Same year the Titanic went down, so we're talking that era. And he said that, you know, it wasn't strange to see World War I ships in World War II. I mean, what you gonna do with them, man? These things are expensive, you know. You can't throw them away after every war, you know. Plus, it still shoots. You still get killed by one of these motherfuckers, you know. See what I'm saying? All right. Let's get to captains. Before I get into captains, I want to explain what's going over here on the right side. Right above, it says Mr. Legend, and you press the Y button. You can see right here that it shows the current campaign and your progress in the campaign. 41 out of 100. Day 15 out of 35. Then we'll go down and you can see the 2 bureau projects that I'm working on, which is the Gearing, which I'm on 12th, the 11th of 12 segment, stage 2 out of 5, and the Coverovsk. Shit, these names, man. And also, my consumables or my resources are down at the bottom. I have 10 million Commander XP, 11 commendations, 9 insignias, 208 promotion orders. And these are basically what we're going to talk about next. And of course, you could view the project right here. Under my name is another summary, I guess, so you can see it right then and there. There's a Garen, there's a Khabarovsk. There you go. I'm getting better. All right.